a private investigator. I've got some books as Premier. Inside, I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
Last month, the judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without a...
In the small, often overlooked village of Dalton, Illinois, a political drama is playing out that rivals the most outrageous reality shows. At the center of the chaos is Mayor Tiffany Henyard, whose controversial leadership, questionable decisions, and string of legal disputes have left this once peaceful town in a state of constant turmoil. If you thought you had seen it all in politics, think again. The situation in Dalton is more dramatic and outlandish than anything you could imagine, with public feuds, courtroom confrontations, and public outbursts becoming the new normal. Henyard herself has even been referred to as a dictator by some. The drama is far from over, and the town of Dalton can't seem to talk about anything else. But how do we get here? And why is everyone in town buzzing about Mayor Henyard? Let's break down the shocking developments that have been making headlines for months. And we promise you that this story is wilder than any political thriller you've ever read. Tiffany Henyard made history by becoming the first woman to serve as Mayor of Dalton. However, instead of being celebrated for her groundbreaking achievement or praised for her supposed innovative leadership, it has been her actions and scandals that have captured the public's attention. From questionable appointments to key positions within the local government to an ever-growing list of lawsuits, Henyard's time in office has been far more chaotic than a model of good governance. And now, the latest twist in this drama is that she is suing the very trustees of the village whom she is supposed to work with to manage the community. Yes, you read that right. Mayor Henyard is suing the individuals she should be collaborating with to oversee the functioning of the village. This legal move is a culmination of months of friction between Henyard and the village trustees, who are tasked with managing the financial and operational aspects of the town. Instead of working together to address Dalton's pressing issues, Henyard has chosen to take legal action, setting the stage for even more conflict and drama. The residents of Dalton are increasingly baffled and frustrated as they watch their town descend further into disarray under Henyard's leadership. But this lawsuit is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to controversy surrounding Henyard. In addition to her legal battles with the village trustees, her tenure has been marred by a series of bizarre appointments to high-ranking positions within the town government. These appointments have raised suspicions and accusations of favoritism and nepotism, with many residents questioning Henyard's judgment and motives for selecting certain individuals for these influential roles. Critics have been quick to point out that these appointments seem more about consolidating power and creating a loyal inner circle than about improving the town or serving the best interests of the community. The town's finances have also become a topic of scrutiny. Many are questioning how Henyard has been managing Dalton's budget and resources. Her spending decisions, particularly on extravagant trips and luxury items, have sparked outrage among residents who feel that their tax dollars are being misused and squandered. The combination of financial mismanagement, questionable appointments, and mounting legal troubles has left Dalton in a state of chaos, with many residents wondering how much longer they will tolerate Henyard's leadership. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of Henyard's tenure has been her increasingly erratic behavior. From heated public outbursts to confrontations with the very people she is supposed to serve, Henyard's conduct has raised serious concerns about her fitness to lead. Public meetings have become tense, with Henyard clashing with residents and even calling police when she feels threatened. Her inability to accept criticism and her tendency to lash out at those who challenge her authority have only fueled the growing discontent in the town. It's clear that Henyard's time in office has been far from smooth sailing, and her actions have left Dalton divided, with many questioning whether she is capable of leading the community any longer despite the mounting controversy. Henyard remains defiant, convinced that she is in the right and that those who oppose her are simply out to get her. She has shown little remorse for her actions, and instead of attempting to make amends, she seems more determined than ever to hold on to power at all costs. Her relationship with the village trustees has become increasingly strained, and the legal battle between them are only adding to the tension. She continues to push forward with her agenda. Even as the public's frustration reaches a boiling point, the tipping point came when an unruly village board meeting served as a catalyst for a firestorm that swiftly spiraled out of control. With tensions running high and emotions boiling over, Mayor Henyard, already under intense scrutiny for her leadership, decided to take matters into her own hands. When a scheduled meeting at Village Hall didn't go according to plan, instead of backing down or attempting to resolve the situation diplomatically, Henyard chose to disrupt another ongoing meeting being held by the village trustees at a local park district facility. Her decision to barge into the meeting was bold, but it only served to escalate the situation, as her actions stirred the crowd into a frenzy. When she walked into the meeting, a wave of loud cheers erupted from the audience. Not in support of her, but in complete mockery. The crowd's reaction was telling. They weren't cheering for their mayor. They were celebrating the spectacle of her latest outburst. It was a moment of deep humiliation for Henyard, and the level of public disdain for her leadership was palpable. This wasn't just a clash of personalities between the mayor and the board. It had become a full-blown spectacle, with Henyard's actions pushing the boundaries of what many considered appropriate behavior for an elected official. Her decision to storm into the meeting was met with jeers and chants, with people shouting and calling out her failures as a leader. The situation grew even more tense, and Henyard's refusal to back down or acknowledge the public's frustration only fueled the fire. In that moment, it was clear that her grip on power was slipping away. Instead of inspiring respect or confidence, Henyard's actions were drawing out more ridicule from those who had once supported her. The chaos in that room was a reflection of the growing divide in Dalton, where Henyard's leadership had become synonymous with conflict and division rather than progress or unity. Her defiant outburst marked a turning point in her tenure, as the mounting dissatisfaction among residents and trustees reached a boiling point. What was meant to be an opportunity for the town to engage in productive discussion and decision-making had turned into an all-out public spectacle. The meeting, which was supposed to address important matters, became a symbol of the larger issues plaguing Henyard's administration: mismanagement, lack of accountability, and a disregard for the community's concerns. It became clear that Henyard's time as mayor was increasingly untenable. Her actions in that meeting only pushed her further away from the people she was supposed to. Her attempt to reclaim control over the situation by storming into the meeting backfired spectacularly. It became yet another example of her erratic behavior, alienating both the public and the very officials she was supposed to work with. The cheers and chants in the crowd weren't just directed at her leadership. They were a reflection of the growing frustration that had been building for months. It was clear that Henyard's days in power might be numbered as tensions reached their peak. It was impossible to ignore the growing sense that Dalton was at a crossroads. Henyard's leadership hung by a thread. The chaotic scene at the Park District facility was just the latest chapter in a saga of missteps and controversies that had plagued her administration from the very beginning. The future of Dalton was now at stake, and with every public outburst and disruptive move, Henyard only deepened the divide between herself and the community she had promised to serve. The chaos surrounding the meetings in Dalton began when the village trustees decided to shift their meeting to the Park District building after the Illinois Attorney General's office determined that Village Hall wasn't large enough to legally accommodate the residents who wished to attend. While the trustees complied with the guidelines, Mayor Tiffany Henyard insisted on holding the meeting at Village Hall, even though it was clear that only a limited number of people could fit. When only 2 trustees showed up to her session, her meeting quickly fell apart and tensions escalated. This chaos only made things worse, further inflaming an already frustrated Dalton community. With every new controversy misstep, Henyard's leadership grows more and more untenable. The town of Dalton finds itself at a crossroads, uncertain of what the future holds, as the once promising mayor continues to push the limits of what's acceptable in leadership after months of political infighting. The town of Dalton was on edge, and Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership was increasingly scrutinized. She was accused by detractors of being power-hungry, running Dalton like a one-woman show, rather than fostering a collaborative environment. One irate resident even compared her leadership to something out of a crazy TV show, likening her to the cartoon character Timmy Turner, with fairy godparents, illustrating just how out of touch the community felt with their mayor. This kind of behavior hadn't been seen in Dalton in decades, and residents were growing more disillusioned. "I've lived in Dalton for 30 years, and we've never been in the public eye like this. Please take this youngster out of office," a concerned resident said. This outburst was a direct reflection of the growing sentiment that Henyard's actions had only embarrassed the town, causing Dalton to be in the public eye for all the wrong reasons. When Henyard finally arrived at the Park District meeting, the response in the crowd was far from respectful. It wasn't just a disagreement. It was a resounding rejection. Many in the crowd turned their backs on her, showing their utter disdain for her approach. Henyard, clearly frustrated and losing control of the situation, attempted to shout over the noise, accusing the trustees of corruption and insisting that the meeting was hers to run. However, the community had already made its stance clear, and no one was willing to entertain her claims. For 7 long minutes, Henyard tried in vain to regain control, shouting over the applause and jeers of the crowd. But ultimately, her efforts failed, and she was forced to leave, unable to command any real authority. The entire scene was a humiliating defeat for the mayor, highlighting just how deep the divide had become between her and the residents of Dalton. Her inability to take responsibility for the mounting tensions or the chaos she had helped fuel only further alienated the very people she was supposed to serve. The animosity between Henyard and the trustees had been growing for some time, especially as she made key appointments to important village positions, including police chief, village administrator, and village attorney, without obtaining the necessary board approvals. This blatant disregard for protocol was a serious violation of governance, and the trustees could not let it slide. Their frustration culminated in a court case, where they sought to halt Henyard's unauthorized appointments. The judge ruled in favor of the trustees, issuing a restraining order that prevented Henyard from making further appointments and required her to obtain prior approval from the board for any future decisions. This ruling was a significant blow to Henyard's already strained authority, reinforcing the notion that her actions had crossed a line. Instead of working collaboratively with the board and ensuring the town's best interests were served, she had opted to run the village as if it were her personal domain, ignoring the checks and balances that were supposed to keep her power in check. The fallout from these incidents was a clear reflection of how Henyard's leadership had spiraled out of control. She had alienated not only the residents, but also the very officials she needed to work with to move Dalton forward. The public outrage against her, as seen in the chaotic town hall, and the subsequent legal battle over her appointments, underscored just how untenable her leadership had become. As tensions continued to rise, it became increasingly clear that Henyard's time as mayor was quickly running out. Her refusal to acknowledge her mistakes, her ongoing disregard for proper processes, and her tendency to escalate conflicts rather than resolve them had created an environment of dysfunction and chaos. What was once a promising tenure had turned into a public spectacle, and it seemed the town of Dalton had finally had enough of their mayor's antics. The public had spoken, the trustees had acted, and the legal system had weighed in, leaving Henyard with few allies and even fewer options as she faced a growing backlash that could ultimately lead to the end of her political career. Despite the judge's decision, Tiffany Henyard has continued to defy the court's orders, bringing in the same individuals she was prohibited from appointing, and acting as though she still has full control of the situation. It has become a game of political chicken with the court, and at this point, it's uncertain how it will all unfold. One trustee even accused her of daring the court to take action, effectively challenging the legal system to intervene in the town's finances and her spending habits. Henyard, however, has not backed down. Instead, she has doubled down on her resistance. In typical fashion, she filed a lawsuit contesting the validity of the board meetings held at the Park District, alleging that the trustees held them unlawfully and outside the proper venue. According to Henyard, Village Hall is the only appropriate location for these meetings, and she's requesting a court order declaring any business conducted outside of Village Hall unlawful. This move is bold, especially considering the Attorney General's prior ruling on the matter regarding the venue size, but Henyard seems determined to maintain control over every aspect of Dalton's governance, even if it means continually pushing against the court's decisions. Her actions are becoming increasingly defiant, and it's clear she sees herself as a fighter, not just battling the trustees, but also what she believes is a larger conspiracy against her. Whether or not the residents of Dalton share a perspective is another matter as the situation becomes more complicated by the day. Henyard has been actively working to rally support from her base, portray herself as a leader under siege by corrupt officials. She even posted a cryptic message on social media saying, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me," and added, "You are not alone. If God is for us, then who could be against us?" These posts suggest that Henyard is positioning herself as a martyr in the eyes of her supporters, claiming that the fight against her is part of a larger, more nefarious plot. However, whether the residents of Dalton will buy into this narrative remains to be seen, as many in the town have grown weary of her leadership. The situation in Dalton is now more precarious than ever. The mayor's defiance, the ongoing public outbursts, and the growing divide between Henyard and the trustees have left the town teetering on the edge. What was once a community united behind a new leader has become a divided town, struggling to navigate a political crisis that seems to have no end in sight. As Henyard continues to challenge both the legal system and the public's growing dissatisfaction, it remains to be seen whether she will be able to hold on to power or if the pressure will force her out of office. The future of Dalton now hangs in the balance, and the drama surrounding its mayor is far from over. The community in Dalton has grown increasingly frustrated with Mayor Tiffany Henyard's behavior, and now, federal investigators have begun to take a deeper interest in the ongoing turmoil. Subpoenas have been issued to officials in both Dalton and Thornton, where Henyard also holds a leadership position. This marks yet another troubling chapter in Henyard's already scandal-ridden tenure. Allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and backdoor deals have become a regular fixture in the growing list of concerns about how Dalton is being run under her leadership. It seems as though there's a new scandal or legal battle emerging almost every week, each one escalating the already tense situation. With each new revelation, Henyard's time in office seems more and more like a political minefield. With her handling of Dalton's finances, questionable appointments, and defiant stance against the legal system drawing scrutiny from all directions, the drama surrounding her administration seems endless, leaving many wondering how this all might resolve. Henyard has consistently portrayed herself as a fighter, pushing back against what she believes to be a corrupt system. However, for the residents of Dalton, the reality is a community caught in the middle of a volatile situation, with no clear resolution in sight. Every new legal battle and scandal only seems to further erode her grip on power, but the big question remains: Will these revelations lead to her downfall, or can she somehow maneuver her way out of the mess she has created? The stakes are high not just for Henyard, but for the entire town, which will become the epicenter of political drama that's far from typical. As the saga continues to unfold, one thing is clear. It's far from over, and the final outcome remains anyone's guess. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more bizarre in the political saga surrounding Dalton's mayor, a new set of explosive revelations has emerged, further escalating the already volatile situation. According to insiders, federal authorities have been working behind the scenes to pressure those close to Henyard into turning against her. The most shocking development is that Henyard's boyfriend, a key ally in her political battles, is reportedly cooperating with investigators. If these reports are accurate, it could be disastrous for Henyard. Having someone with such close ties to her willing to talk could open the floodgates to even more damaging secrets. One particular courtroom scene has already gained notoriety and is now considered legendary. During a recent hearing, Henyard's lover allegedly took the stand and disclosed a range of damning information about the mayor's actions. This included revealing private conversations that painted a troubling picture of her leadership. At one point, the tension in the courtroom was so thick that it felt almost palpable, with discussions surrounding Henyard's supposed shady financial activities and allegations of bribery from local firms. The pressure of the moment was too much for Henyard, who reportedly lost her composure, resulting in a public meltdown. According to witnesses, the mayor yelled at her boyfriend in front of everyone. Further embarrassing herself in the process, this incident has only reinforced the growing belief among Henyard's opponents that she is unqualified to lead the town. Some are even calling for her immediate resignation. The accusations of corruption, bribery, and financial mismanagement are putting immense pressure on the mayor, and the people of Dalton are increasingly frustrated with her leadership. The town simply cannot afford to have a mayor who is embroiled in so many scandals, and many residents are demanding a change in leadership. Despite the mounting pressure and damning allegations, Henyard has not backed down. Instead, she continues to deny all accusations, maintaining that they are part of a politically driven attack orchestrated by her rivals. She insists that everything she has done is in the best interest of the town. Despite growing evidence to the contrary, Henyard has tried to frame herself as a target of a smear campaign, attempting to shift the focus away from the serious legal issues surrounding her and instead portray herself as a victim of political machinations. However, the question remains, will the people of Dalton buy into her narrative, or have they finally had enough of her erratic behavior and questionable actions? With federal investigators continuing to probe deeper into her finances and possible connections to local businesses, Henyard's political future seems to hang by a thread. Whether she can weather this storm remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. Dalton's residents are no longer willing to sit idly by as their mayor's scandalous actions continue to unfold. The pressure is mounting, and the stakes couldn't be higher for Henyard as she fights to hold on to her position. However, with each new revelation, it seems more and more likely that her days in power are numbered. It's only a matter of time before the full truth comes to light, with consequences that could be too much for her to overcome. The drama surrounding Henyard's administration is far from over, and the eyes of the town are watching closely, eager to see how this political soap opera will play out. The never-ending drama of court cases and internal strife that consume the town of Dalton have reached a fever pitch, with citizens becoming increasingly vocal and demanding accountability for Henyard's management of village funds. Tensions have been running high in recent meetings, as residents call for investigations into how taxpayer dollars have been spent, with many wanting clear answers about the financial state of the town. The public's frustration with Henyard's leadership has only intensified, especially now that federal investigators have become involved in the case, adding another layer of complexity to an already turbulent situation. At the heart of this controversy are the financial troubles plaguing Dalton. With every new revelation, the instability only grows, leaving residents worried that the village could be heading toward a full-blown financial disaster unless significant changes are made. According to a report by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Dalton's finances are in disarray, with spending running rampant and financial mismanagement becoming a major concern for the town's future. The report paints a grim picture, with many citizens now fearing that the village may face a crisis that could take years to recover from if things aren't brought under control soon. Despite the chaos, some residents have taken a more lighthearted approach to the situation, finding amusement in the ongoing political spectacle. One resident even jokingly remarked, "I hope this keeps dragging out. She's the best clown show ever," capturing the sense of absurdity that has overtaken the town. For some, the unfolding drama feels like an ongoing reality show, with new plot twists and shocking developments appearing every week. However, the stakes are incredibly high, and the upcoming township meeting looms large on the horizon, raising questions about what will come next for Mayor Henyard. Will she survive the mounting pressure and calls for her resignation, or will the growing legal battles and allegations of financial mismanagement finally catch up to her as the federal inquiry progresses? All eyes are on Henyard. Both residents and observers are closely watching to see whether it will uncover new details that could spell the end of Henyard's political career. With the federal investigation now in full swing, it is clear that the drama surrounding Henyard's tenure as mayor is far from over. The stakes are only rising as more revelations come to light. The people of Dalton are anxiously awaiting the next chapter in this unfolding political thriller, wondering whether Henyard can maintain her grip on power in the face of mounting legal and public pressure. Will she be able to weather the storm and hold on to her position? Or will she ultimately fall from grace under the weight of the controversy surrounding her actions? At the same time, questions remain about the role of the trustees in this saga. Are they truly the heroes of the story, standing up for the best interests of the town? Or is there more to their motivations than meets the eye? As the drama continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether the trustees' actions will ultimately be seen as a necessary check on Henyard's power, or if they will be viewed as just another part of the political gamesmanship playing out in Dalton. What is certain is that the situation in Dalton is far from resolved. As more legal battles and revelations unfold, the town is likely to remain in the public eye for the foreseeable future. Residents, officials, and the public at large are waiting for the next developments, eager to see how this political drama will play out. Will Henyard be able to hold on to her position, or will the weight of the controversy finally force her from office? The future of Dalton hangs in the balance as the legal inquiries continue. With each new piece of information that emerges, the stakes grow ever higher. What will the next chapter in this saga hold? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear. The drama in Dalton is far from over, and everyone is watching to see how it unfolds. Do you think Tiffany Henyard will manage to maintain her authority in the face of all the controversy? Or will the legal challenges and public pressure eventually force her out? Are the trustees truly the champions of the town? Or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for the next chapter in this ongoing saga. Until then, thank you for watching.